All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a huge challenge that so many of us in QA have run into. You have all this amazing testing knowledge, but how do you turn that into a real, working, automated UI test? We're going to explore how AI can be your new best friend, bridging that gap between what you want to test and the actual code that makes it happen. Let's do it. So, let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You're a QA pro, right? You can glance at a login form and boom, 10, 20 test cases just pop into your head. But when you try to translate that genius testing strategy into something like Python, that's where the brakes can screech. If that's you, you are definitely not alone. And today, we are going to fix that. We actually have a name for this challenge. We call it the automation gap. It's that space between your human idea, what you know needs to be tested, and the super specific, perfectly formatted code that a machine needs to actually run that test. And this slide, it just lays it out perfectly. Over on the left, that's your brain. Clear, simple, user logs in with valid credentials. Easy. But on the right, that's the script. It's so close, but it's missing those critical addresses, the selectors, that tell it exactly where to type the username and which button to click. That right there, that's the missing link. So what in the world is a selector? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a unique street address for every single button, every single text box on a web page. Without that exact address, your automation script is just driving around lost. And finding that perfect, reliable address, that's usually the biggest hurdle when you're starting out. But here's the thing, not all addresses are created equal. Some are like permanent signs carved in stone. And others, well, they're like a flyer that's just tacked to a telephone pole, ready to blow away in the wind. And this distinction, this is what separates a test that runs forever from one that breaks next week. Just think about it this way. If you want to mail a package, you need a stable, unchanging address, right? You wouldn't tell the mail carrier to deliver it to the third house on the left that has the blue car out front, because what happens when that car moves? It's the exact same logic for test automation. We have to find the most stable, most permanent address we possibly can. And this table really brings that idea to life with numbers. Just look at that top row. Data test ID gets a perfect 5 out of 5 for stability. Why? Because developers put it there specifically for testing. It's not going to change just because a designer changes a color. Now look down at the bottom. Selectors that rely on styles or generic tags. They are so fragile. A tiny design tweak could completely shatter your test. The takeaway here is huge. Your choice of selector is everything. This quote just nails it. A data test ID is that permanent address. But a dynamic ID, one of those weird ones that changes every time the page loads, that's just a temporary flyer. Your test might work today, but it's almost guaranteed to fail tomorrow. Okay, so how do we find that permanent address every single time, especially if we're not coding experts? Well, this is where our new partner comes into the picture, AI. We're going to use it as our expert code translator. Seriously, think of AI as an experienced developer sitting right next to you. You can show it a chunk of the web page's HTML code and just ask, hey, what's the best, most reliable address for this button? The AI can look at all the options and give you the best one, and it'll even tell you why it's the best one. It does the heavy lifting of translation so you can focus on the test strategy. All right, enough theory. Let's see this in action. We're going to grab a test script that has some missing pieces, and we're going to use AI to complete it step by step. And the best part? We're not going to write a single line of complex code ourselves. So here's our mission. It's basically a simple fill-in-the-blanks challenge. We've got a test script template where all the complicated setup is already done. We just need to find the right addresses for these 3 empty spots. That's it. Okay, for our first blank, we'll give the AI the HTML for the username field, and we ask this simple question. But notice how we phrase it. We're not just asking for a selector. We're asking for the best one, and we're specifically telling it to think about reliability. Giving it that context is so important. And boom, just like that, the AI comes back and recommends using the data test ID. Perfect. We just copy that, paste it into our script, and the first placeholder is done. It's that simple. Onto the password field. And the great thing is, you can just keep the conversation going with the AI. There's no need to start all over again. We just ask a quick follow-up question for the next element we need, the password field. And there it is, our second selector. Again, the AI picks the super stable data test ID. We just pop that into the second spot, and our script is almost complete. The whole process is so fast and feels just like a conversation.
All right, time for the final piece of our puzzle. One last question to our AI partner to find the address for that really important submit button.
And there we have it. The final selector is in. Our script now has all the correct addresses it needs to run this test from start to finish. And just look at the final results. A complete, professional, and really robust automation script that's totally ready to run. We went from a simple idea in our heads to a piece of executable code just by combining our testing knowledge with AI's translation skills. This is a total game changer. Now, what we just did isn't just about filling in some blanks in a script. This really represents a fundamental shift in how QA pros can contribute to automation and work with their teams. This right here is the main takeaway. You don't have to spend years becoming a master programmer. You can take your deep, expert testing knowledge and use AI as the tool to translate it into automation scripts. You are still the strategist. AI is just your amazingly skilled translator. So just think about what you've gained. You now get the most important part of UI automation, how to find stable selectors. You have a real method to contribute directly to your team's test suite, and now you have the language to talk to developers about making the app more testable by asking for things like data test IDs. Automation is no longer this scary, walled-off thing. So, I'll leave you with this question. Now that you have this new skill, this ability to team up with AI and turn your test ideas into reality, the door is wide open. So what's it going to be? What critical user journey? What boring regression check? What crucial part of your application will you automate first?